Hi, I'm Jordan Hamer, and for week 3 I made the Poison Magic item. The Poison Magic item is owned by the Poison Puppet or the player, because both can use it. Its behavior is as a projectile, its type is magic, it does 2 damage on collision, it has a sphere collider, and it can be found in chests, books, puppets, wizards, etc. For its data values, it has forward times 20 velocity, 1 second duration, 2 to any entity, but it's fatal to the Poison Puppet. 1 sphere collider for the hitbox. The Poison Magic projectile travels in a straight line for 1 second before disappearing. If it hits something, it either deals damage or destroys it and disappears. It can be used for damaging the player, impeding the player's progress, damaging enemies, or destroying Poison Puppets. The area and environment it's most applicable in, as above I said, is anywhere a Poison Puppet exists, found in chests or spellbooks, or bought from wizards. The event trigger is when space is pressed or on collision. On collision with any other entity, it deals 2 damage. On collision with the puppet tag, destroys the puppet. It can interact with player and NPCs, and it launches in front of whoever fired it. Its theme is projectile, spell item, and damage. And the description is, the Poison Magic item is the second, less powerful mode of attack for the Poison Puppet against any intruders in its area. If someone else were to harness this magic and turn it back on the puppet, however, it would immediately destroy it, being one of the only means to do so. It is a single shot of green magic fired from the hand and propelled forward, damaging most targets for a small amount, but immediately killing Poison Puppets. And here's the concept art. And for the Trello board, the description is a simpler version of the one I just said. The player gains the ability to destroy Poison Puppets once they collect it. And for the technical requirements checklist, a new model is used instead of a Unity primitive. The projectile fires upon pressing space. The projectile spawns in the correct place. Spawn time can be modified in the inspector. Projectile despawns after 1 second. Projectile consistently detects collision. Projectile despawns upon collision. It deals 2 damage on collision. Kills Poison Puppets on collision, and both the player and the Poison Puppet can use the item. Now that that's done, here's how it acts in play. It's set as a prefab, so I can't show it beforehand. But let it load. The Poison Puppet is set to fire projectiles every second or two as it moves, and if they hit anything, they disappear, and they deal damage to the player if they touch the player. And if the player was to get a poison magic of their own, they can fire it with space. And they can fire it as many times as they choose, so long as they don't overlap each other. And if you shoot the Poison Puppet, it disappears. Now, functionally wise, there's a couple scripts at work here. There's Magic Shooter, which is how it works for the player, which has a public float speed of 1 so that the velocity can be modified. Sets the projectile prefab and the transform of the spawn position. If the space key is pressed, it triggers the magic function, and the magic function is how it checks where to spawn the projectile and how to make it go forward with the velocity. It has forward times 20 to give it the proper speed, and it destroys it after 1 second after spawn. The second function is Puppet Shoot, which is how the puppet uses it, which is pretty similar. It's just modified to spawn after a set number of time rather than on a button press, so it has the spawn time public float, which is set in start and modified in magic again, and that works pretty much the same. And Cold Bullet, which is how the projectile detects collision. If it detects the tag puppet, it will destroy the game object, and if it detects any other game object, it will destroy itself. And it destroys itself when it destroys the puppet as well. And in Unity, all you have to do to make a character use it is you have to drag a magic spawn prefab into the character. There you can see it with the puppet, and you can also see it with the player. And that's about it.